back to my channel. So today I'll be showing you guys how to make this jumpsuit with a tube top, a sweetheart neckline. So because I've done the video several times, I'm going to just insert how to cut it. So we're going to start first with how to cut the pants, and then we'll how to cut the top, and then how to couple it together. The pants, so what you're going to do is to fold your fabric into two. So basically, to fold your fabric, you need the width you're going to fold here will be your hip measurement divided by 4 plus extra, like let's say 4 or 5 inches, just so that you have enough seam allowance. You can trim off the rest later. So just divide your hip measurement by 4, whatever you get, add like 5 inches or 4 inches to it. That's what you will need here. So but use 5 inches to be safe, right? So what I'm going to do now, I've folded mine into 2. So my hip measurement is 48 divided by 4 is 12, right? So 12 plus extra, but what I have here is about 16.5. So I used 4.5 inches extra for mine. So the next thing you're going to do after that is to go ahead and mark half an inch at the top of your pants, right? This half an inch here is going to be just my seam allowance for the top part, to attach this top part of my pants, right? So I'm just going to mark like half an inch here. So all my measurements will start after this line now. So then after that, the next thing you are going to do is to, so guys, this line I made here is just from my waist to my hip, which is 10, right? So you're going to measure your jumpsuit from your shoulder to your waist for the half length, and then you're going to place that tape back from where your half length, your waist is, and then measure that point to your hip. So for me, that's 10. So the next thing you're going to put in now is your crotch. I'll insert how you take that measurement. So that's normally like maybe 2 inches below your hip line. So which for me is, I'm using 12 inches. But normally when you're making a jumpsuit, they normally come down by like 1 inch, just so you will have ease at the crotch, so that it's not like digging into your skin. So, or you come down by like half an inch. So I'm going to just use 12.5 here. So the next thing I'm going to mark, or you can still use the 12 inches on the dot if you want it like fitted. So I'm going to mark mine, and then, so guys, after that, the next thing you should do now is to go ahead and put in the length you want, right? So for me, I'm using 40 inches length. So plus I'm going to add extra, maybe I'm using 40 inches length, but I'm going to add like extra 1 inch to it, right? So that's going to be 41. I'm going to use 1 inch to fold it. If you want, you can use 2 inches to fold yours. I'm just going to use 1 inch to fold mine, because this 40 inches is even too long for me. So this 41, it doesn't matter. So the next thing you're going to do at this point, you can go in and put in all your measurements. But if you want, you can also put in like your thigh measurement. That is, if you want the jumpsuit fitted at your thigh, and then it flares out, like fitted a little bit from your thigh, or except you want it fitted all the way from your hip, your hip, and then it just flares out straight down. But I want mine a little fitted on my thigh, so I'm going to go ahead and put in my thigh line, which normally sometimes it's like 3 inches below the crotch line. So that should be somewhere at 16. So I'm going to mark that in here. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do now is to start inserting my measurement. So on this my hip line now, I'm going to divide my hip measurement by 4. 48 divided by 4, that's going to be 12. I'm going to add extra 1 inch to it. That's going to be my seam allowance. So that will be 13, right? I'm going to mark that 13 here on this line here, right? So I'm going to extend this 13 all the way to the top, right? I'm going to mark it here, 13, and then I'm going to mark again 13, and then I'm going to connect this line down. So guys, as you can see, I connected it all the way down to my crotch. So the next thing you're going to do now is to put in your so you're going to go ahead and divide your hip measurement by 4. So let's say my hip measurement is 48, right? Divided by 4. is 12, and then that whatever you got after dividing it by 4, divide it again by 4. So that 12 that I got here, I'm dividing it again by 4, so that's going to be 3. So make sure that you have that 3 inches for your crotch. So that's why I have 3 inches here for my on my crotch line. So now you're going to connect it this way. So this is going to be my crotch for my pant, this way. So now we are going to go back and put in our waist measurement. So my waist measurement is 36, sorry, divided by 4 is 9, plus extra 2 inches is 11. So I'm going to mark that here, and then I'm going to connect this here to my hip line. So you're going to connect this waist measurement to the hip line. So I'm going to just put that in here, connect it all the way to the here. And remember, we have our seam allowance already at the hip. You divided your hip measurement by 4 and you added extra 1 inch to it. So we already have our seam allowance here. So all you have to do is to connect this point down to this point immediately. I'm using a different method. For those that have seen my romper video, I'm using a totally different method for the pants, for this long pants here. So in sewing, there are different ways to do it. All that matters is that you still get the same result. So the next thing I'm going to do is to get the measurement here, like the measurements all the way from your crotch to the end of your fabric here. So for me, that's about 16. Half of 16 is going to be 8. So I'm going to place that 8 here, and then I'm going to mark that 8 on this line, on my waistline, hip line, and the crotch line, like a straight line all the way down. So guys, the next thing you're going to do is, you remember this is your hip line, your crotch line, and then this is your thigh line, right? Your thigh. So on this thigh line now, what you can do is you're going to measure the uppermost part of your thigh, right? So for me, that's 30 divided by 2, that's going to be 15. And then that 15, you're going to, whatever you got, you're going to add 1 inch to it. So you're going to add 1 inch to it, and then, so for me, if I add 1 inch to it, it's going to be 16, right? So on that 16, you're going to divide that 16 into 2 again. So let me say it again. Your thigh measurement divided by 2, you add 1 to it. That 1 inch is your seam allowance. Now whatever you get, you're going to divide it into 2 again. So for me, my thigh was 30, divided by 2 is 15, plus 1 is 16, and then I'm dividing that 16 into 2. So I'm going to have 8. So I'm going to place that 8 at the center of this line, and then mark whatever I got at this end, and then on this end again. So you see, mine doesn't make any difference because it's still the same as my hip line. So but someone with a smaller thigh, it might have like a huge difference. Maybe this much, it might curve it this much, and then curve it this much, right, coming down this way. And then you can use it to now narrow down, draw a straight line from this point to the end of your pant. From this point to the end of your pant, you narrow down the end of your pant. Or if you want, once you finish on this crotch line, on your crotch line, just cut out everything straight. This one is just like extra, like if you want the thigh to be like fitted more, so you can just try to do this thigh line thing that I'm talking about. But if not, you can just go ahead and cut everything out at this point. So I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting mine. I don't want to have the end of my pant too wide, so I think I might just subtract 1 inch on this end here, and then also 1 inch on this end here, and then connect mine. So guys, I've cut out my front panel. So let me before I forgot, so you're supposed to put in your dart. So I'm going to come in here by 4 inches, which is the same that we use for the top part here. Come in by 4 inches, not from the side, because this is the hip part of the pant. You're going to do it from the center part of the pant, which is where the crotch is. Come in by 4 inches from that point there, and then you're going to go down by, so you're going to stop 2 inches before your hip line. So my hip line is 10. I'm going to stop 2 inches before that, so which means I'll stop at 8 here. So let me be sure that that's 2 inches. Yeah, so you're going to connect it all the way to the top here, and then you're going to mark ½ an inch on each side and then blend it in. So this is going to be your dart. I'm going to notch it so that I'll see it on 2 sides. So now let's cut the back of the pant. So guys, the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut the back. So we folded our fabric into 2, and as you can see, the back is also wider than the front, so it's going to be wider by like 5 inches or so. So you see I have some space here and I also have some space here. So what you're going to do is to go ahead and mark about, so I'm going to go in by the crotch and mark like 2.5 inches here, extension of this front crotch, right? So this is extension of the crotch from the front. And then I'm also going to go up here. You see that line that we made here, this straight line that we made here from the front. So you're going to divide half of it, right? So half of it was for me, half of it is going to be 2.5. Half of it on this end is 2.5, right? So I'm going to come up by on that line. So this is where 2.5 is going to fall in for me. So on this line here, what I'm going to do is to take the measurement from my front crotch. It depends on you. If you're more on the smaller side, then your measurement from your crotch will also be on the smaller side. So but I'm on the bigger side, so I have 3 inches from my front crotch. I'm going to add that 3 inches here to the top part of my pant. So I'm going to mark that. So the distance between these two here is 3 inches. So I'm going to mark it here, and then what I'm going to do is from this point of this 3 inches, the top part here, I'm going to just connect it all the way here. So now I'm going to move my front seam aside, and then I'm going to move this here. This is just how they cut pants. Someone was asking me why they marked this line this way, but that's how they cut it, so that because your butt is at the back and it dips in, so that's why the back of your pant is supposed to dip in this way. So I'm going to just mark it this way all the way to the top here. Sorry, let me do that again so that it's straight. So this is now the back of my pant, and then from here now you're going to put in your crotch. So this is the crotch for the back of my pant, sorry. And then what you're going to do now after that is to take it this way. This 2.5 that you subtracted from the hip of your pant, because if you look now, we've subtracted 2.5 from this part here when we're connecting this. So now you're going to extend and put back that 2.5 here. Or if you can't do it that way, what you can do is just measure your waist, what you have on your waist here. For me, that is 11. Draw a straight line extending the waist of your pants all the way, and then put your tape at this top part here, and then put back that 11 inches, right? So you see, put your tape at the point here, and then draw back that 11 inches of your waist, so that your back will also have the same waist as the front. So you see, this is where my 2.5 was supposed to be. You see, that 2.5 is still the same method as taking it, the same measurement you took out when you marked this here, and bringing it and putting it back here. Or you can just measure your waist here, and then whatever you got, take it and then find where it fits in on this straight line, right? And then mark it. You'll still get it as the same thing. So after that, what you're going to do is to come down on your waist, on your hip line, and add about 1 inch, right? And then come down on your thigh line, add 1 inch here, all the way to the end, and complete it like in a straight line all the way. Distance of 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch is what you're going to add in here. And then on this top part here, you're just going to connect the 1 inch that you marked to your hip, to your waist, sorry. So you're going to just connect the 1 inch from my hip line. I'm just going to blend it into this part here, and then after that, mark the one on this side too. So after that, the next thing you're going to do is to blend this in here to this line. Just blend it into your pants here. So I'm just going to blend in this crotch, my back crotch, into this line. Or if you still want a very wide end of your pants, normal palazzo pants is supposed to look like, right? But I want mine just to fit a little bit on my thigh and then flay out and down. So I'm just going to connect it, blend it in all the way into this pant. So guys, at this point, you're supposed to go back in and put in your zip allowance for your pants, right? So you're going to go in and add in about half an inch all the way to the back. Not half an inch, 1.5, because this is for a jumpsuit. So you're going to add in about 1.5 here, and then you're going to go ahead and cut it out. So guys, this is what your back panel is supposed to look like. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to put in my back dart. So your back dart, how you're going to put it is from the distance of this end, and then you're going to mark your 4 inches, right? So you're going to just mark your 4 inches down, and then your dart at the back might be about 6 inches long, half an inch on each side, and then you're going to connect it. Your dart at the back cannot be straight, it has to go this direction. So you're going to measure it from the distance of your center back here, distance here, not from your zip allowance. So now the next thing you're going to do is to just start joining everything together. Side, we'll move over to the top part. So for the top part of this here, I've done this method several times on the channel, but I think people are still confused on how to use it. So, I always say 12 inches. 12 inches is the total seam allowance I'm going to need for this hair, for the whole top. 6 inches for the top is the extra seam allowance for the front, and then 6 inches is the extra seam allowance for the back. It's someone was commenting and saying that it's too much, but just trust me, it adds up at the end of the video, at the end. So what you're going to do is your bust measurement, right? You're going to measure yourself round your bust. Whatever you get, I got 42 for my bust, and then you're going to add 12 inches to it. This 12 inches, after adding it, I got 54, right? I got 54 inches. That 54 inches is what I used to cut this out. That's the whole width of this fabric here. 54 inches divided by 2. That's half of this 54 is on this side, which is about 27. Is the length from this point to this point, and then the other one here is the other 27 from this point. So this 54 here, I divided it into 2 and then cut it out. So this is basically the width I'm using for this hair. And why you're using the bust measurement is because your bust is the widest part of your upper body, right? So you added 12 inches to your bust measurement, and then whatever you got, for me I got 54, I divided the 54 into 2, I got 27. So 27 is the width of this hair. So if I fold this 27 into 2 now, I'm going to have about, like, unfold is going to be like, I think 13.5 each and 13.5 each. So that is it for the measurement that I used to cut this out. So now to get the length, right? We've talked about the width, the length. How you're going to get your length is just basically you're going to place your tape. Remember how you normally do for your shoulder measurement, your normal bodies. So guys, like how you normally draw your normal bodies, right? How you normally draw your normal bodies, you see your shoulder slant and everything. So it's just like that. But remember, this is supposed to start halfway through, like it's supposed to start above your bust. So for me, I want mine to start at 7 inches. It depends on you where you want yours to start. Maybe 5 inches from your shoulder. So this here is just like your shoulder, right? See, normally your shoulder, your armhole, right? So if you put your fabric, so your shoulder is here, the neckline is here, the armhole is here. So what you're going to do is to place your tape, right? I'm just trying to show you guys how I got the length. So the length I'm working with here is supposed to be 17.5. That's my half length, shoulder to waist. And then I added 1.5 to it, so I have 18.5. So I want my top to start at somewhere at this 8 inches from my shoulder down. I want it lower, so that's why my tape is at this point here. So I've explained how I got this measurement. So basically you're going to place your tape from the shoulder, and then you're going to figure out how much space you want before the top starts. So for me, my top is going to start at 7.5. And then whatever you get, you're going to add 1.5 to it. 1 inch to it, half an inch for joining this part here to the dress, to the bottom flay, and half an inch for joining this top part here together. So that's why. So for this, you're going to add 1 inch to whatever you're working with. So now I'm going to move over to the waist part. So this part here is going to be my waist. This part is going to be the top part here. So for the waist, I'm going to measure my waist and divide it and add 12 inches to it before I divide it by 4. So guys, I'm just going to say this again. So remember, when you were calculating the bust, right, see how I wrote out the measurement here, because people keep mistaking this. So I'm going to go over it one more time, because I normally use this a lot on my channel, this particular method. So your bust measurement is what you're going to use to cut your bodies, because the bust is the widest part of your upper body, right? So you're going to use the bust measurement. For me is 42 plus 12 inches. This 12 inches is for your whole seam allowance that you're going to need at this top part. I'm still going to show you guys how I separated these 12 inches, but just calm down and go with the 12 inches for now. So the 12 inches plus the 42 is 54, right? I divided it by 4, I got 13.5. So 13.5 is the width of this fabric here. And then your waist measurements for me is 36 plus 12 inches equal to 48. Divided by 4 is 12. So that 12 is what I'm going to fix in here, right? I'm going to mark the 12 here, and then I'm going to just blend it in up to this top part here. Normally, when I'm working with, so I'm going to connect it this way. You see, I've marked it. Normally, sometimes when I use this method and I need to put armhole into this here, I normally go in by 3 inches and cut out like 3 by 3, and then that's my armhole. But for this, there's not going to be any armhole here, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. I'm trying to explain it better in this video because each time I use this, I've used this a lot, and the next video I'm going to be making, I'm still going to use this method, and people keep asking me, why is it 12 inches? The 12 inches is too much. Guys, I've cut out the excess. This is just for shaping it here. So the next thing I'm going to do now, you see, I have 2 of these. One is my front and one is my back. I'm going to set out the back aside. So first you shape the waist out, and then you set out one piece aside. So I'm going to use this for my front. The next thing is to fold this into 2 here. This is going to be my the front panel. So you're going to fold it, and the width of this fold is going to be just your bust measure, your nipple to nipple measurement. So for me it's 8 divided by 2, that's 4, plus 1 is 5. So 5 inches is what I'm going to have on this fold here. So whatever your breast point is, you're going to divide it by 2 and then add 1 to it. So that's what I did here. So I got 5. So for me, I have 5 all over. So you're going to check, and the 5 fits in this fold. So the next thing you're going to do is to place back your tape the same way. So like how you know where your shoulder started. So for me, like I said before, it's 7.5. So you're going to mark from that 7.5 to your, so guys, like this again, I've placed it. So this is my shoulder, this is the like the armhole over again. So from that 7.5, the next thing you're going to measure is your shoulder to your breast point. So for me, that's 12 inches. I'm going to mark it here. And then the next thing is your shoulder to your below your bust, shoulder to under bust. So that's what I have here, 14. And then the next thing is your shoulder to your waist. So for me, that's 17.5. I'm going to mark that here. And remember, the mark that you're making is not on this part here. It's not on the folded part. It's on the part that joins to the fabric. It's on this part here. So this side, not on the fold, not on the center fold. So from this here now, on your shoulder to, so let's go down to your shoulder to waist, the last mark that you made, you're going to minus half an inch there, right? And then on your shoulder to under bust, you're going to minus about 0.75 there. And then on the shoulder to breast point, you not subtract anything. Then you just connect. You connect the lines together. So I've connected mine. And then the next thing you're going to do on this top part here, you're going to mark 1 inch. At the very top, you're going to mark 1 inch. And then you're going to just connect it here. So 1 inch here, nothing on the breast point line, 0.75 on the under bust line, half an inch here, and then you just connect each line. By the time you connect them, you see you get that bust shape, and then you're going to go ahead and cut it out. So guys, the next thing you're going to do on this inner one now, you're going to check how much measurement deep you want your V to be. So let's say you want about 9 inches for the V. So I'm going to mark 9 inches deep. That's from my shoulder to 9 inches is my deep V. So I'm going to connect it, and then I'm going to just cut it out, right? So you see, I've cut that out here. So I'm going to remove it. So on this armhole side, because this is going to be your armhole side, I'm also going to come down by 2 inches here, just so it will fall in perfectly. And then I'm going to connect it this way and cut it out. So guys, I've cut that one out now. So this is what it looks like. So using this same method now, I'm going to place this back again. So I brought back my back, the back pattern here. So I'm going to mark that 2 inches down. So I'm going to reduce the length of my back pattern by 2 inches. So I'm just going to fold it. So I've marked the 2 inches because you need to reduce it, because now the side of your front panel is shorter by 2 inches. So there's no way you're going to leave your front your back pattern to still be this long, because you're still going to join the two of them. The front and the back pattern. The front and the back pattern is going to meet by the side. So if they're going to meet by the side, the two of them supposed to be the same length. So I came that same 2 inches I removed from the side armhole of the front. I'm going to remove it from the back, but this time I'm going to extend it all the way to the center. So I'm just going to fold that here, that 2 inches, and cut it out. So guys, I've removed that 2 inches now, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this open. So this is I'm going to split it open, and now I'm going to explain to you guys how that 12 inches works. So like I said before, 6 inches is the 12 inches is divided into 2, right? 6 of it is for my front panel seam allowance, 6 of it is for the back panel seam allowance. This is how it works. 1 inch of it is for the 1 inch here is going to fall in for my zip, and then another 1 inch here is going to fall in for my darting, right? Because I'm going to dart it all the way to the back here, and then the extra 1 inch here is going to fall in for my side seam allowance. So 1, 2, 3 is what is 3 inches that I've already used, right? So but remember, it's for the 2 sides of the back. So one panel here is the one side of the back, one panel here is one side of the back. So the 3 of them together is going to give you 6 inches that you're using for your back seam allowance. Let me say it again. One of this here, your side seam, then one darting here, then one here your center seam allowance, one here the second center zip allowance, sorry, one here is the center back dart, one here is the side seam dart. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches of seam allowance that you need for the back. So we'll set this aside. Now how I use the 6 inches for the front pattern. So this is your front pattern. Let me open it up again so you can see why. So guys, why I use 6 inches for the front, 1 inch for joining the side, right? 1 inch, half an inch here, so guys, this is it for the front. So 1 inch of joining the side, 1 inch of joining the 2 darts, 1 inch of joining the 2 darts, and then 1 inch here. So let me count it. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You see, 1 inch is going to join these 2 sides together, right? You're going to use 1 inch to join it here. So that's going to be 1 inch of the side, and then 1 inch that is coming from the end of this one, coming from the end of this one. Another 1 inch is coming from the end here, and then the other side. So if you count it, all the seam allowances you have, because remember when you were cutting your dart, you used about, when you were cutting the dart, you used when you were cutting your nipple to nipple measurement, remember I said divide your breast point into 2 and add 1 inch to it, right? So that 1 inch that you added, it still counts in here. But when you go to sew, you're just going to use half an inch for the seam allowance here. You're not going to try to extend it so much, because remember you've already trimmed out some parts of this center pattern here. So some of that have 1 inch. It's not like it's fully 1 inch that you're using to join it together, because you've already chipped out some of it here. So when you go to join it, just use half an inch to join the side, the seam at the center. But when you go to join the side to the back, you're going to use fully 1 inch to join it. So that's it here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's why you use 6 inches for the back, 6 inches for the front, but in total it's 12 inches that you use when you're dividing it. I hope I've made it clear. So now the next step is just to cut out your lining. So I'm going to go back and cut out the exact lining that I'm using for this here. I'm going to go ahead and trace out the exact pattern I have here. I'm going to trace it out in lining. So guys, I've gone ahead and joined it. So basically you're going to join the 3 patterns of the front, and then join the 3 patterns of your lining that you traced, and then you're going to join it at the top part, right? You see where I joined it at the top part here, and then after that you iron it. So you see what it looks like here. This is where I joined it and then flipped it over. So you see the same thing for the sleeve. You join it, you see the joint part here from the inside, you see the seam here, and then you flip it over and then just give it a dart here. So the same thing is what I did. After that I joined it together. So you see the body, the top part is ready now. So this is it here. As you can see, this is the tube part. So this is the back where I'm going to insert my zip. As you can see, this is my zip allowance at the back here. So you see, and then my pants is already coupled together, and then I also have my zip allowance at the back for my pant. So all I have to do is just to join the 2 of them together here, and that will be it. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my zip at the back, and then I've gone ahead and joined the top part and the bottom part. So this is the cup here. If you want, you can pad yours, but I'm just using mine the way it is, because if you wear like a very good push-up bra, I think it will stand. So this is it here. This is the back here, and you see the zip. So this is it here, and then it also has the belt here. So I just give it a tie for the waist. So that's basically it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.